Greetings everyone and welcome to Factorio, or rather welcome back for those who have been on the channel for quite some time and may have seen some of my previous Factorio series. We are back and with a new version to boot, 0.16.1. Now, it's been a while since I've done any kind of Factorio content on this channel or even streamed, so I'm quite excited to get back to the game. And yeah, there's a couple of interesting new things that have been added. This will primarily be a gameplay focused series, though understand that my commentary style tends to wax a little bit tutorial at times. So if anyone is coming to this series from my previous beginner's guide series and hoping to get updates on the changes that have happened since that series, the version that I recorded that series on, I will go over some of the newest components. So, you know, there'll be a little bit of guiding in there, but mostly I'm just looking to have a fun series, honestly. So with that, let's go ahead and start a new game. Now then, we have, amongst a myriad of changes that have been brought into the game, we now have presets for the game type, and all these do is automatically adjust these settings here and there. I'm going to be playing on a rail world custom map. Now, death worlds are particularly dangerous worlds where the biters are very aggressive, rich resources, is pretty much as the name implies. Now, rail world does require a little bit of explaining. The resources are spread out, but are much richer and larger deposits to emphasize logistics networks and really emphasize having to use trains to move things from distant mining camps to wherever you might need those resources. We are going to make no changes to this whatsoever. So they're all big. Well, richness is regular, but they're very, very far apart. Terrain settings, we're going to be changing this a little bit. I do enjoy a little bit of combat in the game. I like there being some well, I actually quite liked it when you had to kill aliens in order to gather the alien science resources, but that has been taken out. There is no longer any particular reason to kill biters unless they're in your way or they're threatening your base, but I still like them to be a threat to the base. Now, in a rail world, enemies no longer expand out and build new bases. If you've cleared them from an area, that area is now clear forever. That makes the game a little bit too easy, in my opinion. So we are going to be turning that back on. But other than that, most of the settings are similar. However, for those who might want to join in and play on the same world, I will be using a map seed, which you can copy here. It'll be 1122111, which is basically Aavak if you convert all of the letters to their numerical positions in the alphabet. The English alphabet, at any rate. Mostly because K doesn't exist in the Welsh one. Right, so there we go. 11221111. And that's pretty much it. We can generate a preview, and you know what? Sure. Just to show it off, there are lots of new biomes and lots of new wondrous things to see, though I am not seeing any cliffs, which is a bit of a shame. I'm sure they will be around somewhere. I don't really intend to play around with it too much. I am assuming this will be the starting area since there's like no biters conspicuously in this zone. So with that, let's generate the map and get in there. Okay, there we go. Nice and quick. This is a Factorio free play. Your task is to launch a rocket into space. Do this by constructing a rocket silo and launching a rocket with a satellite. You will need to research advanced technologies in order to unlock the rocket silo. Start small, work your way up with automation, and don't forget to protect yourself from the natives. Now, straight out of the gate, I'm not aiming for any particular achievements. There are lots of achievements, so I've already got some of them from previous plays. I'm not going to be trying to get a factory that can do X, Y, or Z in a specific amount of time or anything like that. I don't intend to make a mega factory, but that being said, neither do I intend not to make one. This is going to be, as I said in the beginning, a bit of a free play, a bit of me just playing the game. So who knows what's going to happen. I have got some ideas, though, on how to weave a narrative. As many of you may know, I do quite like to have a bit of a story emerging from any game I play, and Factorio is no different. So the first step is obviously playing on a real world map, where I'm going to have much more geographically distant camps or mining outposts, etc., etc. But borrowing an idea from one of Bentham's Factorio Let's Plays, many of you will no doubt be familiar with Bentham, either from his Factorio Let's Plays, if you're in the Factorio community, or just from the games that I've collabed with him before. I quite enjoyed his towns series, and actually having distinct towns with their own names, and so we're probably going to be doing something very, very similar. And right now I'm just looking around, gathering some initial resources and kind of getting an idea of how we're going to be building up. I've noticed a small bit of iron just about there, not very much at all, only 2.2k. That would possibly run out towards the end of this first episode, but still, that is very convenient because everything is right next to each other. So sure, we're going to go ahead and set this up. Now, the first thing you're going to need is a bit of iron. So let's plop this down. There we go. And a furnace. Now, quite a lot of the icons and the sprites and the entities, if you like, have had a resolution update. So you'll notice they're far more detailed than they used to be, and that includes the player. Also, all of the doodads all over the landscape. The game looks so different, so much more full, and quite nice to look at, actually, I've got to be honest. Right, we are going to want several of these. Thankfully, we have enough to make quite a few stone furnaces. We're going to want another bit of iron as well. How much have we got? We're only up to 3. So we're going to need a little bit more there. But while that's happening, we can do a little bit more scouting around, perhaps gathering up some stone. I noticed there was a little bit of stone on the edge of the coal deposit, which eventually we will actually start mining. But right now, what I'm looking to do is set up my initial pair of burner drills to mine me coal. So there we go, that's enough there. Now this is the way that I prefer to start out my my efforts, is just having a little bit of self-mining coal. Now you typically can't do that with burner drills, but if you just set one going with it pointing into another burner drill, it will unload its coal into the furnace of the other burner drill, which will then unload its coal back and forth. And one piece of coal will burn for long enough that eventually you'll just start accumulating large amounts of coal. The more you add to the chain, the more you can accumulate. Right now, this is the smallest amount that you can have in a sustainable self-mining fashion, but a 2x2 is generally what I aim for early game. Now, understand, burner drills are they're a technology of the old world. Let's put it that way. You don't ever really want them for very long. In fact, you very quickly outgrow them. So you could just leave it at 2 and just be done with it. We are going to need some copper coming in. The goal of this first episode is pretty much the same as whenever I play Factorio, and that is to get to electricity mining and just gathering the basic resources, the main 4: stone, coal, iron, and copper, in an automated way that is it's all being belted and smelted and all of that kind of good stuff by itself. That's what we're going to be aiming for here. So there we are, the first coal loaded into copper. Let's go and grab a little bit more, and then we can ferry this over to our iron down here. Now, honestly, we're probably going to want more iron than anything else. Generally, I find that you use a lot more iron in the early game than you use copper. So we'll set up a little bit more. In fact, we could go a tiny bit more if we really wanted to. Sure, fine. We'll do that. There we go. We'll just replace that wood there. And replace that wood there. That way we've got some wood to make power poles. And we're going to need to go and grab a little bit more coal Besides, I need an extra one of those. Of course, the burner drills have the stone furnaces as part of the resources they need to make the part of the ingredients. And you think how often I play Factorio, I'd remember that, but every single start of a game, I forget it. It's actually kind of funny in a way. Right, there we go. Let's just get these unloading into the furnace, even if we don't yet have the coal for it. Now, once we've got this, 1 copper, 3 iron, and 2 to 4 burner drills mining coal, then we're good to go. What I did early on in mining out the rocks, the large boulders around here, probably means we're not going to need to set up any kind of mining for stone until we're at electric mining, and at that point it's much more sustainable. Right, so first things first, we are going to need some electronic circuits which require copper to make a water pump. How are we going to spread all of this around? I'm not sure yet, but that's the first thing to get. We can probably run off 1 boiler. Now, boilers and steam engines are the big things that have changed, amongst other new features. But this was a feature in my beginner's guide that has changed in quite a drastic way. Boilers work very differently than they used to, and as do steam engines. They now produce steam as a product which you have to pipe into the engines. There is no longer warm water, which makes a lot of sense considering they were steam engines. Right, there we go. Oh, I love that. I really like that. And this has actually been mirrored in a lot of different things. You also get it in things like along the rail lines. We've seen that before. That kind of ghosted image, but rail lines now actually have a lot more information, which we will no doubt get to since this is a rail world playthrough. So sure, we'll grab a bunch of pipes. I want to take it a little ways off from the water there, because I imagine I am going to be running the coal down here somewhere around there. Yeah, something like that. I imagine this initial little area, our starting base, we'll have the smelting happening around here, and we'll also want our boilers just off to the side. Let's go and grab some more coal, thinking about it, since we're going to want to kickstart our boilers. There we are. I may as well grab some copper on the way past. Also check these out. 7 in there, 5 in there. Sure, we'll top them up a little bit. Again, you don't need much copper. You don't need much at all. The next thing we're going to need is a boiler and 2 steam engines. So hopefully we've got a fair bit. Well, not quite. We won't have long to wait though. Now these ones I would like to top up reasonably. There we go. And there as well. Now, how are you doing? You are not doing well at all, as it happens. There we are. There. That should keep going for a little while longer. Now then, we want to bring this water over here. Now, if you just click and hold, then it'll drop the pipes at their maximum distance. That should be good enough, I think. I would like 2 extra pipes there as well. And see if we've got enough now for the second boiler. We do. Fantastic. Yes. I actually would like to run the pipes down. Though, again, I forgot that the pipes are actually a component. So we need to pop these down like so. We'll have the boilers moving backwards along here, I think. There we are. That'll be nice and simple for us. Now, a single boiler can support 2 steam engines running at full capacity. So generally you want it 1 boiler for 2 engines. And a single water pump can pump enough water to operate, I think it was 20 boilers. So in total, you can have 40 steam engines running off it. I might be a little bit off with that. I will have to double check. I can't remember exactly if that's the ratio of pumps to the boilers, but we'll very quickly find out. Right, there we are. A little bit of energy there. Now, we are going to want to start... Well, I generally prefer to automate the coal before I automate anything else, simply because the coal will then keep the power flowing to its own mining facility. So we are going to want, let's say 2 miner drills to begin with. We are also going to want a number of electric poles to get the electricity from here all the way up to there. Now we can just drop the coal in there. The problem with that is that I'm fairly certain this does not have a sliding scale on how fast it burns the coal. Coal burns as fast as coal burns, whether you're using all of the steam or not. And that's also kind of plays into something else I like about boilers, and that is I actually quite like popping the steam that I produce from them, any excess steam, into tanks. But we'll be getting into that much, much later on. There we go. And there we are. So now then, we're going to need to grab you two and set up a little bit of coal. It's not exactly in the best place, really, but it'll do. It'll do. And we'll pop this one over there as well. Not exactly the most efficient. And that actually brings me on to another point I really wanted to make. And that is, I am not aiming for efficiency. Not even slightly. I mentioned this in the beginner's guide. There are people who play this game as kind of a symphony of mathematics. They look at the ratios. They will painstakingly construct their factory to be as efficient as it is possible to be. It's not always possible to get everything into the optimal, or rather the perfect, because optimal is what you can do, but the perfect ratios, but you can get it pretty close. And some people really, really, really focus on that. I am not one of those people. I play the game in a lackadaisical way, I guess you could say. Right, that one has run out. I play the game and I enjoy it, and I'm the sort of person who would willingly accept like a 10% drop in efficiency if it meant that I could put my belt just so it looked pretty. So if you're looking for someone who will teach you the hidden formula, look no further than the Factorio forums. Just go there and all of the information is at your fingertips. It's not gated in any way. People are very happy to share what they've worked out. Reddit as well. The Factorio Reddit is fantastic for that. You will have more knowledge of Factorio than you could possibly know what to do with very, very easily. If, however, you are hoping that this is going to be that kind of thing, no, I'm afraid not. It absolutely won't be, and it'll make you tear your hair out because, like I said, I don't focus on that kind of stuff. Right, there we go. We'll just pop a little bit in there, a little bit in here. Go and grab ourselves a little bit more coal. And then we're going to start working on the first thing I really want to do is have a line of coal going all the way down to the boiler. Once I've got that, everything else I can start working on. And in this episode, I really would like to have all of the resources being mined automatically. That's where I would be happiest to be. We'll drop off a little bit of extra coal in there. There we go. And grab all of this. There we are. And likewise, there are lots of people who play the game, but in a very focused way, but focus on different things. Some people who absolutely adore trains, and that is what they focus on. And then there are people who care more about thinking of clever ways to solve problems. I'm a little bit like that, I'll be honest, especially when it comes to combinator logic and the programmable aspect of Factorio. I do find myself spending a lot of time playing around with combinators. And in this series, as this is not a tutorial, and I felt that getting into combinator logic was possibly a bit of a outside the scope of the beginner's guide. Let me know if you do want to see me doing that, or whether you'd just be happy to see the end result rather than me actually going through the thought process that lead to me working out how to do a certain thing a certain way. Because I can absolutely get sucked into that and not be seen for several years. Right, let me see. We're going to need a little bit of iron, and then we're good at that point. And we can start working on the next thing, which will probably be the smelting of iron. Again, that tiny little deposit of iron there, I don't think it's going to last outside of this episode. I strongly suspect it won't. But there's a larger deposit just down from us, I believe. Let me have a quick look. Yes, there's actually a tiny little one there as well. Is there anything else? There's some stone over there. We'll need to have a bit of a look. This is a desert, so any pollution is going to travel out there fairly easily. Same down here, not too many trees, though quite a lot of trees on that side, and they're happily absorbing the pollution that we're producing. We're not actually producing much at the moment, though, I'll be honest. You can go ahead and just have all of the remaining coal, because the iron is going to be the one that we update first. Right, we're going to need some electricity just out here to run the inserter. But there we go. our energy is now, for all intents and purposes, automated. Though I've overloaded it with coal, just to point this out. If I took all of that out, it would only load, I think, 2 to 5 pieces, depending on how fast something consumes that resource. Yeah, 5 pieces. I can stuff it full of 50. It can hold an entire stack. It's just, it's not going to waste energy sticking coal in there if it just doesn't need it, which is nice. Right then, we are going to want quite a lot of metal for what we're going to be working on next. Looking at this, let's start off with 2. We'll just start off with 2 electric miners. We don't need anything too much more than that. Though, that being said, how am I going to create this? I'm going to create a little gap over here, and then I'm going to make, I would make that. I do not have the wood for it, so I'll just allow these. Actually, let me make sure they are, that one's already mined out, so I'll move it. May as well make sure that they're doing something while I'm off getting some wood. There we go. Fill that up. Fill that up. There we are. Right, let's go and grab some wood, because I like to have little buffers in any well, the entire conveyor belt is quite often referred to as a buffer, or a bus rather, but I like having little buffer chests in the bus. There we go. Let's grab all of this. That should be more than enough. It does slow the throughput down a little bit. And later on, I tend to have a design where one lane might have buffer chests in it, whilst the other one is more of an express lane, just to keep the flow of resources moving through. But I quite like having these little chests just dotted around midway, just to fill up. So I've got a convenient place to go and grab stuff, should I want it. All right, we're going to need power over there, so just pop that one there. There we go. That's perfect. So that chest now will have a very convenient place for me to just pick up resources rather than me having to run along the belt. Though I will say there's a certain catharsis in just running up these belts, picking everything up with F. Ah, so good. You can, of course, drop things on the belt with Z, I believe it is. There we go. And I think at this point, if you overstuff the belt, it will no longer start just dropping it on the floor. It'll wait until there's a room to actually put it there, whereas I could just keep dropping it here and it would just have a gradually expanding ring of items until to some sort of arbitrary maximum distance. Right, let's grab everything in there. Now then, we've got our 2 miners. That is fantastic. You know what? Should be enough for us to do everything we want. So let's grab all of this. Grab the miners first so they don't spill iron onto the ground. Right, there we go. And honestly, I would like to try and... that is so annoying. I would like to try and grab as much of the material as I can. I can't there. We've got this little line there. I'll eventually sort that out though. Right, and we'll bring that down. I would like to bring this out. Can I get it? Oh, that's annoying. I could if that was one a little bit closer, but alas, no. Okay, well, that's fine. I'll just do this then. Not ideal, but there we are. Right, so this will gather a little bit of iron. Now, this tiny little place, we're making a very temporary smelting setup here. We don't need much. Another 4, I'd say. There we go. We'll have this much. I would like a box there and an extra box across here. Right about there. And this will be our buffer for example, iron and copper. So we are going to want the iron to be gathered about here. And I'm working backwards through the system so I can plan it out properly. And then I'll need just 2 spots, something like this. Shouldn't be too bad. And down here, much the same way. There we go. This will leave me enough room to get everything I need. So that'll be 5. 1, 2, 3 gives me 8. Now, I want coal to be moving into this. Well, isn't that a bit of a potch? There is going to be a better way of doing this, though. Okay, I'm going to move this down onto this side and rotate this one around, because I would like this to meet up with a different belt that's going to be running along here. On that note, though, I'm going to need a lot of belt to set this up. Right, and we will have these. I'm afraid I'm going to have to move that one then, which has just disconnected all of the power throughout my base. Not happy fun times. There we go. We'll have one over there. I'm already getting spaghetti. Never like spaghetti. I actually do like spaghetti in real life, but I don't like energy pole spaghetti. Still disgusting, but I'll live with it for the time being because I've got many other things I need to do. All right, let's grab that. Really, of all the places I could put it. All right, pop that there, and we'll just have that one there. Oh, actually, that reduces a little bit of the spaghetti. Okay, unintentional positive side effect. I approve. There we are. Now, that isn't... I'm going to have to shunt that across, actually. Okay, it still fixes the spaghetti, either way. Right, so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be loading coal on one side of the belt, iron on the other, and then feeding it into the furnaces. These furnaces will then feed it straight back out and into this crate. And that will be my buffer there. Right. We're not going to be loading the iron onto a bus yet. I don't really intend to have a bus here, to be perfectly honest with you. This is a very early area, and will eventually turn into something a little bit different once we get that chance. Again, as I mentioned, I am going to be borrowing the idea of the town series from Bentham, or Mangled Pork as he is known on YouTube. And with that, I'm going to need name suggestions for the towns. And the first town, naturally, is this little starting area. I'm not sure what this town's going to be, though. So, name suggestions should try and focus on a new, like a landing, the first place in a colony, that kind of idea. And then future towns will have a specific purpose. For example, we might have an iron mining area, and that will need a name that kind of lends itself to an iron mining facility. And in my mind, these entirely automated structures are perhaps run by some sort of rudimentary AI, or perhaps tiny little gnomes, whatever you want to imagine. They're certainly not people like me, unless I'm some sort of giant, and there are actually little people. They're just tiny little people, and these furnaces are huge, like Mayan temples. Wow, I think I actually like that idea. We won't be going with that one, though. That is weaving a little bit too much of a sci-fi story right now. Though I guess, sci-fi stories would be fair, given the game we're playing. Still, I'm thinking more along the lines of the little towns, maybe the little AI working there, and we'll have possibly some interaction between the towns. Perhaps some towns will be competing. Maybe if we end up with 2 mining towns, we will absolutely end up with multiple iron mining towns, because you need it for so much stuff. But maybe there'll be a little bit of competition, and maybe I'm just gonna set them up and then just see which one manages to fend off the biggest biter base or something, and that one will win the contract to supply all of the iron everywhere. No, they'll both be supplying all of the iron. It's just one will be supplying it in shame, and the other will be lauded as a hero. Right, now we are going to need a little bit more power over here to set up the supply of copper. Now, do I still have enough stone? I've got enough stone, I think. Yeah, we actually don't really need to set up stone mining yet, but I'm going to, simply because I want to. Right, so let's just get stone mining up and running. And we'll also need to run some power up here as well. Nice little stone deposit right there. Does that work? Yeah, that's fantastic. I don't think it always worked. I think at one point you had to actually start by placing the pole first. That one was a little bit further off because it could connect over there. But at this point, it seems that it can start just if you click and hold over an already placed building. I'm not sure if that is something new, but I don't remember it being that way. Let's find the best spot. 9.1. There was an 11k right there. Yeah, sure, we'll have that. Pop that down. We've got to be very careful where that goes, because the miner can quite happily mine multiple things. In which case you need some sort of system to filter out the various different components. And I am all about building systems that do that kind of stuff. But right now, let's keep things simple. Not actually getting the amount of iron needed to make use of all of this. Perhaps I could improve that somewhat by adding another 2. And we'll just burn through the supply of materials here a little bit quicker. I do need a little bit more iron though, so let's go down and grab some. Thank you. There we are. I could make that a tiny bit more efficient in a way. The way I could do that is simply having this actually just feed straight into that and having this one fill up the other side. Could demonstrate what I mean. So we do something along these lines instead. And that way, any iron plate going up here will at least fill out that arm. Doesn't really make much of a difference. It's not much of a muchness, as the saying goes. Still, it'll be a little bit nicer. I do like having the belts with stuff on both sides. It makes my brain itch if I see that not being the case. Well, we don't strictly need to place that one as far out. Let's move that around. No, it is going to be a massive potch. We'll do that for now. You have to be out of place, don't you? Right, there we go. That should all work all right. There we are. That's a little bit better. We might start seeing these furnaces actually getting used. Doesn't make much of a difference, honestly, because the plates are getting backed up, and eventually these ones will get used anyway, simply because they're the only ones that have room to output their resources. Right, with all of that said and done, though, let's go ahead and build some copper down here. Actually, I'm going to grab a little bit more and make a 4th, and we'll just start out with 4. Because this deposit is much larger, it's 162,000 instead of 2,000, we can be a little bit more wasteful in the positioning of these. That being said, do I really want to be wasteful about it? I don't really. So we'll pop them around like this, try and get the maximum out of the mining that we can, and we'll just move it around as time goes by. This one actually may be expanded out a lot more, and we'll stockpile quite a lot of copper from this. Early game, I don't tend to find that copper is as necessary a resource as iron, by far, but still, there's no reason not to try and make the most of what we've got. There we are. And they should all kick into action. Perfect. Right then, we are going to probably do, you know what, to make it look pretty, we're going to do, I told you, it's already begun. Already begun. Right, there we are. Right, so we're basically going to want to mirror this setup on this side. We're going to need a fair bit more iron plates for that. We are also going to need a couple more. There we are. And we can have this about there. Now I don't have as convenient a marker here to see where I need to place the other ones. It's 1, 2, 1. So I need it up there. We need 1 space for the inserter and 1 space for the actual conveyor itself. There we go. And then we can just pop these down over there. We can overlap them or not. You can do all kinds of funky designs with the electropoles, and you can absolutely rewire them. Something that actually I find quite a lot of people don't realize, even people who've played the game a lot. It's a very easy to forget feature. You can just make copper wire and rewire the electric poles. Take wires down if you don't like the spaghetti and just make them very, very orderly. And I'm not going to pretend that I'm not the sort of person who actually does that, because I 100% am. But you don't need to at all. Whoa. I have made a mistake. We need to push this back a little bit, don't we? Yes, we do. Actually, since I'm doing that anyway, then I'll set this up in a symmetrical fashion. Yes, you've let yourself in for a bit of a torturous ride watching me play this game, because I am going to be doing silly stuff like that a lot, just deleting whole areas just to make them look correct on the other side. Hopefully you can forgive me in time. Right, about there I think we need it. Yeah, and from there we go. That looks a bit better now, doesn't it? Yes, of course it does. Right, let's get all that across there. We need one extra point there, and we're going to need a couple of inserters. Ah, you're no longer powered. Well, that is just annoying. Ah, don't tell me I'm going to have to do that. Yes. That hurts a little bit. Tiny bit of hurt. Can I get rid of you first? Then place it on. Okay, that looks a little bit less horrible, but it does still hurt. Right, there we go. So we want these feeding in like so. And feeding up like so. We need one more, please and thank you. And just get the conveyor going out there. We can already put down the smelter, the furnaces. There we are. And we're going to need another 4. And probably quite a lot of extra belt, because we're going to have to get the coal down to merge down there. So I'm going to need a lot more iron. There we are. That'll do. And we should be good. There we go. Excellent. And just bring that down here. There we are. Right, so all we need from this side is to get the coal to meet up with the copper. And it's probably going to be a little bit easier if I just have them in the right orientation to begin with. There we are. We are going to need to run a little bit of power just down here, just to cover the inserter. But that will just about give us everything we need, actually. Marvellous. Right, there we go. That is going to be a little bit slow, but once these have backed up a bit, it'll actually, it won't make as much of a difference. That is loading coal onto this belt faster than the smelters will be able to smelt the copper. So faster than it's being used up. At least once it starts backing up. But we should have a decent amount of coal being produced. It's going to take a while for us to get a decent amount of iron, unfortunately. But there we go. That's actually not too bad. We're about half capacity on our boilers. Given that, I am going to set up the next stage. But I'm not going to hook it up to any coal yet. We don't need it, and I much prefer use these to their capacity, at least until we get tanks. Once we've gotten tanks, as I mentioned, I'm quite a big fan of storing excess steam for later use. It's basically a very early game battery. But I'll go into the details of why I actually like to tank steam and the way that it can be used as a battery in a later episode when we're actually working on that kind of thing. But I think that is a fairly good place to wrap up this first episode. We have achieved everything I wanted to achieve in the first episode. We have set up the automated mining of iron. We've set up the automated mining of copper, coal and stone. We are running on electricity rather than burner drills and burner inserters, that kind of thing, though there is something to be said about using burner inserters. There are some people who prefer to use them for much longer into the game due to the various efficiencies on how long a piece of coal will run a burner drill for, that kind of thing. But generally speaking, I like to just go all electrical when I have the chance. And we are already nearing the point where we no longer have any iron in that tiny little iron deposit. So in the very beginning of the next episode, we're actually going to have to set up some mining just to the south. I'm not going to consider that a separate town yet. This is all fairly close geographically speaking. So I'm happy to keep this all as its own single settlement, and I would very much appreciate any name suggestions for this first town of ours. But that's going to be it from me, so I hope to see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, and as ever, do remember to leave a like if you liked, sub if you haven't, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.